So many people want Usyk versus Moser the Itauma, and this is how we actually can get to it with Itauma actually being able to deserve the shot, because he's got the talent to be able to do it 100%. But Itauma needs to get rounds in order to be able to fight Usyk. That's the one thing, and he needs at least 2 more credible names on the resume before he deserves an Usyk shot. So let's get right into it now then. So straight after the fight, most of the Itauma's team came out and said that they'd be happy for Itauma to fight Jermaine Franklin. And Jermaine Franklin could take him 5 rounds or so, then get knocked out. But if you want to fight Alexander Usyk, then, you're going to have to do it quick, because Alexander Usyk is 38 years old. He is going to be retiring very soon. I reckon by the end of 2026, he will be retiring. And I reckon Itauma could be Alexander Usyk's retirement fight if they go about this the right way. Going in a fight with Jermaine Franklin next doesn't get him there. It doesn't get him there at all. I feel like there would be outrage if he goes in with Jermaine Franklin and then a win over there, then Turkey puts him in to a fight with Alexander Usyk. That can't happen. If Itauma wants Usyk next, he is going to have to fight either Martin Bakole or Filip Hrgović. That's the first step to it. That's the first step. That's not then he gets Usyk. That's the first step to it. He needs to do that by the end of this year. He needs to do that by the end of 2025. Because then Usyk gets time to rest. I doubt Usyk will fight till early mid 2026. I think the gap we see Usyk versus Parker, let's say, that's going to be the one that happens. Usyk and Parker. We're going to see that around January to May time. So that's what's going to happen. January to May, that's when Usyk and Parker will likely happen. So Itauma needs to fight late this year against Filip Hrgović, but he's probably going to need time to recover after the cut he had against David Adelaide, or he needs Martin Bakole. And Bakole, in my opinion, it's a risk, but it's one that Bakole, it's a risk, but it's one that Itauma will win. I feel like he'd beat Filip Hrgović as well. To be honest, I mean, yeah, there are risks. He's going to get rounds in those fights, most of the Itauma. I think especially against Hrgović, I reckon there's a possibility that Itauma could blow Martin Bakole out of there, to be honest. But I feel like if he fought Hrgović would definitely give him rounds. It needs to be one of those. So you could say like a Lawrence Okoli, throw him into the mix for who could be next for Itauma. That could be at the O2 or something. They headline at the O2. I wouldn't mind that whatsoever. People are saying Derek Chisora, but Chisora doesn't even believe he'd beat Itauma. He's being real about it. He doesn't even believe he'd beat him. So stop throwing his name around in that mix. It's stupid. Martin Bakole, Filip Hrgović, Lawrence Okoli. They're the names. They're the names who it's got to be. So otherwise, it's just not going to work, and it would just make no sense. Then what you have to do is Moser Itauma needs to do that late this year. Then around the time, early to mid next year, when Usyk fights Joseph Parker, that's when you do either Moser Itauma versus Daniel Dubois or even Ajit Kabayel. That's what you do. Or what you do is you do Itauma versus Hrgović or Bakole in late this year, and then possibly mid next year, as I said, around like when Usyk fights Parker. That's when you could do Itauma and Okoli, and then. But I feel like ideally though, you'd want to do Okoli, Hrgović, or Bakole in later this year, and then mid next year Daniel Dubois or Ajit Kabayel. Early to mid next year, around the time Usyk fights Parker. That's when you do Dubois or Kabayel. That's a real risk, though. That's a real risk, but that's how he fully proves that, he's the man, and basically already would have taken out the whole division as champion. So it's like, if he does that, he's the real deal. I mean, I already feel like he's the real deal, but that just shows something else, and that shows a proper route to fighting an undisputed champ. And I feel like Itauma also has to do that to have a chance against Usyk. I think Itauma has a chance of beating anyone in the division right now. But apart from Alexander Usyk, Usyk's leagues above all these guys. I'm not saying look, I'm not saying it'll be a guy like Fury. I'm not sure he would win that right now. Could he beat Parker? It's possible. I'm not sure he would win it as of right now. But if he goes up against, let's say, Hrgovic or Bacoli and beats them, blows them out, then I've changed my mind. If he then goes up against Dubois or Caballel, then that's it. He's 100% second best, and then would probably at that point beat Fury and AJ. But he just needs to be tested more before we can 100% say that he would beat those guys. But he's a top 5 heavyweight already right now, in my opinion, Itauma. He is top 5. Right now, I'd probably say Usyk's number 1, Fury's number 2, Parker's number 3, Dubois number 4, and Itauma's number 5 as of now. That's what I would probably say, to be honest with you. But again, let's see what happens. But I think Itauma's got to fight one more time this year. I mean, you never know. It could be a win over Hrgovic or Bacoli, and then Turki Al-Sheikh just wants to shove him right in there with Usyk straight after that. I don't know whether that is the right idea, though. But again, though, Usyk fighting Parker, though, Usyk's going to want quite a bit of time off after that. He would probably, after the Parker fight, be considering retirement or probably ending up considering fighting Moser Itauma and ending up fighting him. But so I do think that we probably will get time for 2 more Moser Itauma big fights. Big fights they've got to be before Alexander Usyk. I don't think there can be any messing around with guys like Jermaine Franklin right now. I really don't think there can be any messing around with that whatsoever. It's got to be, right, he's coming off a win over Dillian White. Then it's got to be, then if he fights Hrgovic, wow, then, and beats him, then if he can fight Caballel or Dubois and beat them, wow, that's it, get him in that Usyk fight. There's going to be risks along the way, but Itauma can take risks right now. He can. Right now, he doesn't even need the Usyk fight. He's going to become world champion one day anyway. He doesn't need it right now. Right now for Itauma, it's good that he can take these risks. And then he can say he's beaten all these guys. Then, for example, if he loses to a Caballel or Dubois, he then can take a Jermaine Franklin fight, build himself up from there. Then one day he will get that fight anyway. He could get a Dubois rematch, a Caballel rematch, then a Parker fight. He's going to get all these big fights one day anyway. You may as well take the risks now. We don't need to see the Usyk fight. It would be great if it happens, but it's like, we don't need to see it. Usyk doesn't need to fight him. I mean, if Usyk doesn't want or need to fight, if he just wants to retire after Parker, I completely understand it. It's not a duck or anything. He's done what he's had to do for his generation. Itauma's a different generation. But yeah, look, that's how I think we could get Usyk and Itauma. But we need to be quick with this, 100%. There's no 2027 for Usyk. It's ending at the end of next year, I'm certain. Anyway, thank you all for watching.